Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. So, I promised that I would do a weekly reading once a week at the beginning of the week. So, I'm going to pull a few cards. Let's get into it. I'm going to be using 3 decks today. My first deck is my deck, Light Fragments Oracle cards. The second deck is going to be from Sacred Earth Oracle. And the third deck is going to be from Diana Cooper, her Ascension cards. Now, this deck I know very well. These 2 decks, I do not know them very well. So what I'm going to do is pull 1 card from each deck. And let's see how they line up. The question that I have for this week, as a general question for all of us, is how important is it for all of us to stand in our own personal power in love? And I think that that's the hard part, the in love part. Because as human beings, the first thing that we want to do is react. But coming into the love aspect oftentimes means not having any reaction. Just be an observer, even if it's something that's happening to you. Now, a card popped out while I was talking, and it's our earthly mother. This card is really important for the time that we are in right now, because we are moving from a 3rd dimensional way of being into a 5th dimensional way of being. Now, what does that mean? That has nothing to do with walking down the street to go to somebody's house, or working our job, or running to the grocery store. These are all things that we need to do in life. It's a vibration. A 3D vibration is more of a polarized vibration, a polarized shift, right, wrong, negative, positive. And so what we are being called to do by the collective, and by collective I mean universes within universes, what we cannot see, all the beings that have been created, we are being called by the collective to pull those poles into center. And in the center is where our heart is. It's our core. It's our soul. It's the reason that we came to this planet to begin with. And there is nothing more important on this planet than your soul. Because what you see here, this body, when you look in the mirror, is the house that contains your soul. When this house becomes outdated, it will pass away. And your soul will transition back to the Creator, back to that place from whence it came. So, one of the reasons that we call our planet Mother Earth is because when all of the planets were created, the Earth was created to house us as human beings and our souls that are housed in us as human beings. And so there are those that have recognized, souls, if you will, that our earth is not just a round ball floating in space. It was created to provide us with life. It has a heartbeat. And because we are inhabitants on this planet, we have heartbeats. And so collectively, it all has a heartbeat. When we dismiss our planet, we are dismissing everyone and everything. So it's in that sense that Mother Earth is called our mother. She feeds us. She provides us with water to drink and clean ourselves. She provides us with plants that provide oxygen into the air that we breathe. She provides us gravity so we can stay where we are. And a plethora of other things for our enjoyment, just like a mother would for her child. And the Creator said, when looking at all that was created, it is good. But here we have another issue with the poles. It's so easy for us as human beings to label something right or wrong, good or bad, positive, negative. When in fact, if we were to step back and pull ourselves out of that, pull ourselves out of those two poles, and come to the center and observe, we may have a whole different outlook of what we are experiencing. Because remember, everything that we are experiencing on this planet, somehow we have chosen. We have a mission to fulfill. And that mission means that within our experiences, we will experience positive, negative, good, bad. So labeling it puts us one way or the other. Not labeling it brings us into the center. Think of the praying hands. They're here in the center. Religious faiths. Where did they get these ideas to pray, to bow, center to center? It came from somewhere. But Mother Earth is asking us to continue on our journeys in a higher fashion. Make higher choices for the good of all humanity. Consider the lilies of the field, for they do not want. Consider the birds of the air, for they know where they're going to find their food. They're not panicking. they're living, and they're growing, and they're experiencing. How much more important are you as a divine being? Trust that. I know it's easy to say, and I wouldn't be here saying that if I was not feeling that tug of war at one time in my life. And I would not make a decision, because going this way would have drastic effects and going this way would have drastic effects. And I felt stuck in the middle, in the center, where miracles happened. Let's pull from the Sacred Earth Oracle. I did not know that this card would come up. And prior to, I listened to my intuition and decided to choose this deck. So let me just do a quick cleansing of this deck. I simply ask to have the deck cleared by the highest realm there is, God, the universe and source of all that is good and of pure heart, to clear, cleanse, balance, and align these cards. So I'm going to do a quick shake, and we're going to do a card pull from this one. Please ignore my dog. I had to put him on the deck. He does not know how to, he's hypervigilant, and just pretend he's not here. He's out there. He has to be out there. I set a boundary for him. Okay, so let's fan this deck and let's pull and see what comes out of this card deck. Fortitude. Fortitude, speaking of being in the center, fortitude is knowing and forging the path ahead. Full steam ahead. Having fortitude means not quitting. Do not quit. Whatever the situation you're in, keep pushing forward and do not quit. What would happen if the earth quit on us? Yes, there are things that go on in different parts of the world. We can't control any of that. And we, even in our own lives, have situations that are very similar to that, tragedies. And fortitude is what gives us that gas to keep pushing forward. And how do we get that fortitude? Through prayer, through being present, through being mindful, through asking and knowing and trusting that where we are right now is where we're supposed to be, to experience on this mission that we've been put on in this journey of life. This card also means there are a lot of spirit animals around this card. We've got the wolf, we've got the deer, we've got what looks like a mountain lion, a hawk, an otter. And all of the guides. Now see the little planet? All of the guides. This card is a confirmation that we are not alone on this journey. And so if you're feeling like giving up right now, try to pull yourself into center. Know that you have a mission to accomplish, and pray for fortitude. Let's see what Diana Cooper's card deck is saying. And then I will let you go, because in order for me to have complete quiet, I would have to go outside on my deck or upstairs, away from my animals, or at night. These cards are gorgeous. So let me shuffle these cards, ask for them to be cleansed. So this is interesting. This card has an affirmation. I connect to the God force within the Sphinx. Now, the Sphinx is interesting because the Sphinx goes back to the Egyptians, and it was one of their very large gods, statues that they erected. And supposedly, the high priest Ra brought the Sphinx from Atlantis and placed it within Egypt. Okay, so if you look at the Sphinx and you look at how the Sphinx is sitting, it's being present. And the Egyptians believed that when you went to the Sphinx and you stood by the Sphinx, it gave you that relaxing, peaceful energy that you needed to rejuvenate yourself, to gain the fortitude to move forward. And also, the Sphinx contained the fifth dimensional records for planet Earth. You are invited to visit the tunnel from the Sphinx, a portal of wisdom linked to the ascended aspect of Mars. From here, you can radiate peace and oneness throughout the universe. Now, when I read this without judgment, what I see is every faith or religious denomination has their own talismans, so to speak, their own ways of believing, their icons, their statues. Did you know that bells on the steeple of a church represented, when the bells were ringing, that it called in the angels and it called in all of the spiritual light beings around the planet to gather together in communion to worship? It's true. Look it up. So when I look at this card, I'm going to just kind of take all that other stuff out and focus on the fifth dimensional records for the earth. So what that means is that they were planned way before we even existed. And there is a collective of conscious beings that know this. So when we hear human beings talk about the third dimension and the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension, they are getting downloads, or we are getting downloads in our meditational time that collectively align, not in an ego-centered way, to project to you, to all of you, that to step into that part of your life with all the gusto and the trust and the faith that you can muster up to complete your mission on this planet, you will, by cosmic osmosis, climb that ladder where you need to go into that dimension, into that spiritual dimension consciously. You will not be living in a subconscious state anymore. You will become more aware of your environment, what's going on around you. You will be more awake to your place here on the planet. I like to be very careful using terms like awake, because that alludes to the fact that everybody else over there isn't awake. Oh, yes, they are. They're awake where they need to be right now. I don't like that separating way of thinking. It serves no purpose. Even though there are entities, even though there are negative beings, if you want to call them, or negative humans, that should not affect us where we are right now, even if we're within a situation that is not the best at the moment. So, my friends, I'm going to pull a root card and then I'm going to leave you for the week. This card some people find a little scary, but this is Jesus, the Alpha and the Omega. With God, there is no time. There is a beginning and an end and a new beginning, the infinity symbol. And let me just tell you something. If you take the infinity symbol and you cut right here and right here, the center is a cross and the two sides are a fish. With God, there is no end. So, because of that, do not worry. Offer that up on your journey. Consider the lilies. Consider the birds. Trust. Have faith. Know. Believe. You are where you're supposed to be right now for a reason. Every single one of you out there. Stay put. Be blessed and be well. And I'll see you next week for our weekly reading. I love you. Bye-bye.